Hi there. The Church of Nowhere would like to remind viewers of a truism that comes from Buddhism, which is that all is impermanent. So, for example, the old Labour Party that battled against Mrs. Thatcher in the 1980s and 90s, and it has battled against the bosses or ever since the whenever it was formed, 1920s. All that's gone now. It's all over. Uh, Actually, it still hasn't gone, in fact. It's still the workers versus the bosses, but it has been obscured by so many things like technological developments, globalization, to name but two, really. So, in fact, the poor old Labour Party, and of course, the Labour Party has come out really, really badly from the Brexit fiasco, as the history books will record it. And in 2019, with possibly an election looming before Christmas in the United Kingdom, announcement of which will be made probably today on this Monday, because the EU will probably tip the balance in favour of a pre-Christmas election. And I have to say that poor old Labour Party is going to be absolutely dusted. Because when you think about it, they really don't have a policy on the EU anymore. What they have is a party that's full of people that follow Jeremy Corbyn, and Jeremy Corbyn has a proposed deal, okay, to come out of the EU, which involves the worst of all worlds, which is to stay in the customs union. Which would mean that Britain wouldn't have any say in the EU anymore, but would still be tied to the EU. So that would mean that Britain was worse off than if it actually stayed in the EU now, under the terms of its membership now. And people don't like the no deal option. So in fact, the Corbynite part of the Labour Party is not offering people anything. But it probably will put this proposed Corbynite terms of deal in its manifesto. People will probably read it and say, the Labour Party is also full of Blairites, disciples of Tony Blair, because he's sort of a god as far as Labour Party is concerned, because his argument was that a socialist Labour Party was always unelectable and always will be unelectable from now on till the kingdom come. And basically, Tony Blair represents an electable Labour Party. So, of course, he's the darling and always has been the darling and always will be the darling of his disciples, which is really half, or probably even more than half, of the Labour Party parliamentary party, in fact. And of course, the Blairites are Remainers, and they want to keep the status quo. They want to keep Britain in the EU, and they are going to really. I mean, the arguments over what actually goes in the Labour Party manifesto for this year, 2019, are going to be horrendous. Be a fly on the wall for that one. There will be shouting matches and people shouting at each other and God knows what. They'll have to call the police, I think. Anyway, so we go on to basically the Lib Dems. The Lib Dems. No, we'll go on to the Conservatives. Because the Conservatives are riding high. They have this 40% now of people that are likely to vote for them in the next election. And they're absolutely cock-a-hoop. Okay, well, but they're cock-a-hoop, but they should be very careful. At present, it's very easy. Their manifesto is going to be very simple. The Tory party has negotiated a deal with the EU to take Britain out of the EU, and we only need you to vote for us in order for the bill to pass through Parliament, a new Parliament that doesn't obstruct everything in its path, in our way. And it's very simple. If you want Brexit, we are the real Brexit party. with with a negotiated deal and everything. So we're the sort of sensible party. And goodness me, if you want Brexit, vote for us. And I think they may even get quite a lot of Labour people that vote Labour usually will come over to the Conservatives. They will never vote for the Conservatives again, but they will on this occasion because it really will be the most sensible party to vote for. Even if you hate Boris Johnson and you think he's a total buffoon, and you hate the Conservatives, you'll have to agree really that their manifesto looks good, and especially if in fact there is a little bit of there will be some token stuff against austerity in the Conservative Party manifesto for this year, which might attract people as well. So all in all, the Conservatives are looking good, actually. They're favourites, really, to form a government next time. Now, there is a fly in the ointment for this. It's not all sort of cock-a-hoop, because I was talking to someone who's actually a member of three parties. He's a member of UKIP, which was the original anti-European party, and which apparently now has been infiltrated by extreme xenophobes and Islamophobes and generally rather nasty people that are making UKIP out to be some sort of, I don't know, racist party, which they never were. And this apparently is a plot by MI5 and Israelis or something to discredit UKIP. So, we're not going to talk about UKIP, but he's a member of UKIP. He is also a member of the Brexit Party, which is the new Brexit Party formed by Nigel Farage, which favours a no-deal Brexit, okay? We're just going to give Europe the finger. They're a wagon load of monkeys. They're terrible people. They're scammers. Why would you negotiate with scammers? When you get a scammer scamming you with your inbox, with your personal email, you just delete the scammers, don't you? Or you put them on a list, or you put them in junk. You don't negotiate them. You don't answer the email, right? So Nigel Farage sort of says, we're not going to talk to the EU anymore. They're scammers, they're liars, they're cheats, they're not Democrats at all. They don't believe in democracy, freedom of speech, even. They're rubbish. We're just coming out of the EU flat, okay? But my brother, my brother, yes, it is my brother. He now how his identity is known. He is also a member of the Conservative Party as well. So he's a member of literally three parties, because he wants the Conservatives not to renege on their commitment to coming out of the EU. So he's a Boris Johnson fan, obviously, or is he? He certainly wants to make sure that the Conservatives don't get taken over by people that want to stay in the EU, because there are a lot of Conservatives that still want that. They are still laissez-faire liberals. They still support the corporations and the global financial powers, and they think the Conservative Party should be the party of the global corporations. Strangely enough. So he's a member of the Conservative Party to keep the British flag flying over the Conservative Party. But he's he's been a member of the Conservative Party for decades. He's been a member of UKIP for a long, long time. And now he's a member of Brexit Party. And there's two things about talking to him. I was struck by two things. One, he expects Britain to come out of the EU on the 31st of October this year, which is this week. And if Britain doesn't come out of the EU, he wants to know the reason why. He also believes that Boris Johnson is actually no better than Theresa May, and that the deal that he's brokered with the EU is just as bad as Theresa May's deal, and he is a no-deal Brexiter, out and out, finished, never mind any more negotiation with the EU. We're coming out and that's it. So basically, this election, he is not going to be voting Conservative, it seems. He's going to be voting for the Brexit Party. But the Brexit Party only has 10% of the pre-election polls at the moment, the big poll. Whereas the Conservatives have 40%, you see, at the moment, which is really good. I mean, when you get 40%, this is a magic number. 40% is what you need, to form a government, big style. So they're really great. Um, and the Brexit Party has 10%, and UKIP probably doesn't have probably 1% or something like that. So Brexit Party are riding quite high. I mean, because they expect to get people from the Tories. You see, if Britain does not come out of the EU on this Thursday, a lot of former Conservative Party members and voters are going to be as mad as hornets. You see, they're going to be very, very angry with Johnson. Johnson is going to be tarred and feathered along with Theresa May as a globalist, corporatist, statist, EU fanatic, blah blah blah. You see, and they're going to see a conspiracy. Okay, flat conspiracy. Now, what about the Lib Dems? Okay, the good old Lib Dems and the SNP, the Scottish National Party, and the Greens, and several other independents who are all Remainers. Now, they actually are very, very keen on the election in Britain for 2019. They suspect, and they are right, that this is their last chance at government, a coalition government ever. After this date, they're going to go into complete decline, but not as much as the Labour Party. They are going to be dust as well. But they're looking forward to creating their manifesto for several reasons. Because one, they're going to say, we represent the status quo. We represent Britain remaining in the EU. But it's a Britain remaining in the EU as it is now, okay, with all the options and with its own currency, the sterling, which people wanted to give away, but it hasn't happened. So basically, we're the status quo because, guess what's going to happen in 5 years, over the next 5 years, or possibly 10 years? There's going to be a rejoiner movement, okay? If you think we Remainers, and we're called Remoaners, and you don't like us and you hate us and call us traitors and God knows what, you think we're bad enough, you wait until there's a rejoiner movement, okay? And they'll say Britain needs to rejoin the EU. And of course, there could be teething problems with Britain coming out of the EU. And that's going to, be a gift to the rejoiner movement, because they're going to say, look at this, we need to rejoin the EU. This is terrible. Britain can't manage on its own, blah, blah, blah. And they're going to be but of course, if Britain rejoined the EU in 5 years' time, it would have to rejoin the euro. It would have no opt-outs at all. It would just be literally like Bulgaria or the Czech Republic. It would have have no terms at all. It would just be rejoining as a member, and it would have to do as it's told, be members of the European Army, and all this. So Britain would be worse off if it rejoined. And yet there is going to be quite an outspoken rejoiner movement, all right, which is going to grow. They're going to go into the schools, colleges, universities with their packs, and they're going to say it'd be a great idea if Britain rejoined, and it's going to be good for world peace, blah, blah, blah. And they're going to get a lot of young people joining their ranks, you see. If you vote for the Lib Dems, you're voting for the status quo. You're voting for Britain remaining in the EU, having all the benefits of the EU, but having all the opt-outs as well, and its own currency called sterling. And it's not going to give those up, you see. We're just going to go on as we always have done, you see. Which is not actually true, because in fact this is why Britain wants to come out. This is why the Leavers want to come out of the EU, because in fact all these opt-outs are being negotiated away. But the Lib Dems may say, well, guess what? We're going to actually negotiate for more opt-outs from the EU, including a green card system for migrant workers, you see, which everybody will say, oh, that sounds like a great idea, so we won't be flooded with migrant workers. You'll have to have a green card to work in the EU, like you do in the US, right? So that'd be great. So the Lib Dems are going to suck up a lot of pro-European people. They're going to suck up a lot, and they're also going to convert a lot of people to seeing that remaining in the EU is a great idea because we remain in the EU at its present level of membership, you see, and that's a good thing. So they're going to suck up all the Remainers and perhaps convert a few people that wanted to leave. And certainly they might draw a lot of people from Labour, because Labour's got this sort of half-assed policy about leaving the EU from Corbyn, but it's got a lot of these Blairites who will say, "Oh, I don't know, it'd be a great idea to stay in the EU. Really, we'd be better off to stay in the EU than have Corbyn's half-assed half-assed plan to leave the EU. Would be better than the Tories' plan, which doesn't make any sense at all, and would certainly be better off rather than having the Brexit Party in its no deal position on leaving the EU, which is absolutely ridiculous, right? So in fact, the Lib Dems are going to do better than you think, actually, for this next election, which is why they're quite keen to have the election, and why the Labour Party is very, very non-keen to have the election party, because they are looking at extinction. Never mind the planet become extinct, the Labour Party is going to become extinct. It's going to literally loads and loads of seats are going to be lost, okay? They are really, really, really in big trouble here. So the next election for this pre-Christmas general election for the United Kingdom is going to be quite a landslide. It's going to be quite an interesting election, because a lot of people are going to polarize. Some people are going to, as I say, be mad as hornets at Boris Johnson and the Conservative Party and his negotiated deal. And they're going to go over to vote Brexit, okay? And Brexit will stand against, the Brexit Party will stand against the Conservative Party, you see. So that will split the anti-European vote, you see, on the one hand. And then you're going to have the Lib Dems, who are going to suck up a lot of Remainers, including people that take to the argument that Britain should stay in the EU now, because it'd be much better off to stay in the EU now at its present level than rejoin in 10 years' time completely on EU terms. But of course, Nigel Farage also believes that there won't be a European Union in 10 years' time. So that, if that comes true, then the whole of this argument is completely academic. But assuming that the EU won't have gone down in 10 years' time, it'll be sort of bobbling along as it is now, and probably Russia will be a member of the EU by then as well, of course, and Turkey. Don't forget, Turkey's been wanting to become a member for 20 years, okay? And when the Turks join, of course, all hell will break loose, of course. The Bulgarians and the Austrians will say, we're not having any of those bloody Turks in our country. You can, suddenly it's migrant workers will be banned from the EU, because nobody will want the Turks to join. Everybody hates the Turks. There's a lot of history about Eastern Europe can't stand the Turks because of the Ottoman Empire. Austrians can't stand the Turks. And Germans can't stand the Turks because they can't stand Muslims coming into their country. In fact, most places in Europe, French hate Muslims, so they don't want the Turks to join either. Everybody does, but they sort of daren't say, because it'd be racist to say it, right? But actual fact, the Europeans can't stand the Turks, okay? They hate them. They really, really don't want the Turks to join the EU. They'd rather have Russia join the EU than Turkey. Anyway, never mind about that. So the point is, this general election in the UK is going to be really, really interesting. And if you're from the US, it's really, really worth looking at Sky News and looking at all these issues as they come out of the United Kingdom, because for you in the USA, it's sort of like an anti-federalist movement. The anti-European movement is anti-federalist. And I know a lot of people in America are anti-federalist as well. So, it's kind of be fascinating for you to watch this UK election. It's not a boring thing at all. It's going to be really quite fascinating and entertaining for you. So I really recommend that you do. But spare one. You may not spare a thought for the Labour Party, because you don't like socialists either in the in the USA. I know that. So you're going to look. You're going to actually see the downfall of the Labour Party and its traditional socialist values, because socialism. It's all changed now. There isn't apparently the distinction between the bosses and the workers as sort of some kind of theoretical sociological model. You've got these two groups, the bosses and the workers. It's just not like that anymore. It's all changed. And Nigel Farage is right. The battle lines have changed. And if you still think the battle lines are as they were in the 1980s, the last century, well, you're really, really, you're a dinosaur, basically. And if you look at Jeremy Corbyn, he's a dinosaur. I like him, but he's a dinosaur. And half the Labour Party is going to go down the way of the dinosaurs. So it's going to be a split between the Lib Dems, who are pro-Europe, and the Brexit Party and the Conservative Party, who are anti-Europe. And you could even see that the Lib Dems actually win the day. They don't look like they're going to win the day. It looks like Britain is going to be anti-Europe and pro-Brexit, but stick around because it's going to be terribly exciting, and nothing is permanent.